Hello, Matthews, Gatos here. In this video, we're going to be looking at surface area and volume of composite shapes. So what is a composite object? Well, it's an object that's made up of two or more objects. For example, here, this is made up of a cylinder and a cone on top. Or for example, here I have a rectangular prism. I can see I have cylinders for the wheels. I have a triangular prism and a cube. So when I'm looking at composite shapes, I'm going to be figuring out the volume and surface area. I need to combine them together. So let's try an example and we'll look at volume first. So to find the volume of a composite object, find the volume of all the different shapes and add them up. To find the surface area, however, you want to look at all of the exposed faces. So sometimes we might just be looking at lateral areas or just the area of a base, and then you add those up. My tip to you is to start with a plan before you do any calculations. It gives you focus for the question. So let's look at this example here. We have a wooden table and it's made with 4 legs that are rectangular prisms. The dimensions are shown. And the tabletop that's also a rectangular prism. We want to calculate the volume of wood in the table. So let's come up with my plan first. So my plan to figure out the volume is I am going to figure out the volume of the rectangular prism on top. And then I'm going to find the volume of the rectangular prism for the legs. So these are the legs. And then I'm going to times that by 4 because there are 4 of them. So that's my plan. So let's begin. So for the top piece, volume is area of the base multiplied by the height. Now let's label our dimensions on here. So the rectangular top measures 36 inches by 48 inches, and the height right here is just 2 inches. So area of the base would be 36 times 48 multiplied by the height of the object, which would be 2. So put that into my calculator, 36 times 48 times 2, and I get a volume of 3,456. So I'm done the first part of my plan. Now let's figure out the volume of the legs. So the legs measure 2 by 2 and they have a height of 30. So volume again is area of the base times the height. So the base area is 2 by 2. The height is 30. So we can put all of that into my calculator. So 2 times 2 times 30 is 120. But that's the volume of one of them. I need to take that and multiply it by 4 to get the volume of all 4 legs, which is 480. So my plan was to figure out the top, the 4 legs, and then add them together. So I just add those together. So 3,456 plus 480, and I get a total volume of 3,936 cubic inches. Remember, volume is always units cubed. Okay, let's try a surface area question. So here we have a grain silo and we want to calculate the amount of metal required to construct the silo. So what we have to do is find the surface area of the exposed faces. Okay, so to make a silo, we have this cylinder here. But we don't need metal for all of it. We definitely need a metal base. We need the middle section, but we do not need the metal top because the cone and the cylinder are connected together, so we don't need the top. So let's look at the surface area of a cylinder. It was area of the base, 2 pi r squared, plus that middle lateral area, which is 2 pi r h. Now, I haven't seen that since last year, but that's the formula for a cylinder. The top and the bottom, these are the bases, and then this is the lateral face, the curved surface in the middle. Now, because this cylinder doesn't need the top circle, I can take it out. So the surface area for what we are going to use is pi r squared, just the bottom circle, plus 2 pi rh. Okay, now let's look at the cone. So the cone on the top, that has, and I'll just change my color here, that has a surface area of pi r squared, that's the bottom circle, plus pi rs, that's the lateral part. Now, because the top of the cylinder is the same as the bottom of the cone, and that's an open shape in the inside, we don't need this base. So the surface area that we will be using is just pi rs. So let's put our plan together. Cylinder plus lateral face of the cone. So altogether, the surface area of this composite shape is going to be pi r squared plus 2 pi rh plus pi rs. So we just have to plug everything in. Okay, so looking at this, I can see that all the way across is 24, and the radius would be half of that. So 24 divided by 2 is 12. The height of the cylinder is 18. The height of the cone, well, we don't really need that. That's just more for volume. But the slant height of the cone is 13 feet. So it looks like we have everything that we need. So I'm going to do pi times r squared plus 2 times pi times r times h plus, I'm going to have to move this over, this is a long formula to fit it all in, plus pi times r times s. Now you can put that whole thing into your calculator in one keystroke. So let's just look at that so you guys know how to do that. I'll just open up my calculator, and it's nice to do it all in one keystroke so that you don't make any silly rounding mistakes. Okay. Okay, so let's look at our calculator here. Let's enter that whole thing in. So pi, second exponent key, times 12, close my bracket, squared, plus 2 times pi. So I'm just entering it in exactly as it was in my formula. Just exactly like what I wrote on my sheet, times 12 times 18. So those brackets are for multiplication, plus pi times 12 times 13. Okay, all together in one keystroke, and there is my surface area. So let's copy that over to our notes, and then we'll talk about how we should round. Okay, so all together, putting that all into my calculator, I got that as my answer. So if I want to round this, I'm going to round it to the nearest whole number. It doesn't specify how to do it, but all my measurements are whole numbers. So I look at my whole number, my ones digit. I look to the right, which is a 6. That tells me to round it up. So it's 2,200, and I'm rounding the 9 up. So if I round the 9 up to the nearest tenth, to the nearest whole number, it would be 2,000. I would have to round this one up to a 10. So it would actually end up being 2,300, and my units are feet squared for surface area. So that would be to the nearest whole number. So good thing that we came up with a plan, because there was lots of little steps in that question. So that concludes volume and surface area of composite shapes. Volume. Well, the formula, area of the base times the height, that works. But what if someone hits the mute button? Does the volume decrease? Good question. Hope this video helped you, and I look forward to seeing you for the next one.